Hello, my queens. This is The Sit Down, and I'm here with Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Lynn Nottage and actor Jessica Francis Dukes, the writer and star of the new play, By the Way, Meet Vera Stark. Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so last night was the play's opening night. I got to see it, and I just thank you. Thank you both for the work you've done. It's brilliant, and I think it's so good. So, it's a revival of a play you wrote and put on in 2011.
That's right.
Set in the 1930s, Vera Stark is a maid and wants to be breakout actor. For people who haven't seen it yet, because it just started being staged, where did this idea come from for you?
Sure. For me, the idea really came from my love of screwball comedies from the 1930s. I grew up watching these films on television in black and white, and really just being enamored with them. I know I love the wit, I love the humor, I love the fast pace of the language, and the fact that so many of them were female-centric. But there always came a moment when I was watching these films where a black actor would shuffle onto the screen, carrying a tray, bug-eyed, and would take me out. And
the fun
would go away for a second, and I have to recover, and then they disappear, and I'd be back in the film. And years later, there was a festival on television, and I watched some of these screwball comedies as an adult, and I became really curious about who were these men and women who were brilliant performers who went to Hollywood with the expectation that they were going to get work and found themselves marginalized. And so Vera Stark is really about my questions I had about these actors. Who were they?
Right.
What happened to them?
Yeah. Why were they forgotten?
Why were they forgotten? What happened to Vera Stark?
Yeah. And so for Vera, and it's kind of, for people who haven't seen it yet, it's kind of a big movie comes up, a big script, and it's kind of like Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
And your character is like, listen, I'm from the vaudeville circuit. I got the talent.
Yes.
And so she's forced to make the decision. Am I going to play a slave to have a breakout role, or am I going to stand firm in my integrity and not have a job?
Right.
Is that something that resonated with you just as an actor trying to make it, in Hollywood and in theater?
Yes, because I think the sacrifice parallels that we go through, especially as black actresses today. We were just talking about it, how, many times you have to change yourself in order to be seen by the, majority.
Right.
As something that is, whether it be a lawyer or a judge or a doctor, you have to present yourself a certain way. And Vera is willing to go there. It happens in the
She kind of stumbles
into it. But she's, once she does, she knows that she's crossed that bridge. And once you do that, that's it. If I can get what my, boss has.
Yeah. And again, an important detail is, passing and performing is important. And what I loved is that we see different characters, not just Vera. Everyone is performing and often caught in the act. So it's like that moment when your friends from home see you like talking with a weird accent, kind of like, what's going on? And so I wanted to ask you, it is so funny. I was laughing I was sitting next to a black woman, and we just kept laughing. I don't know if the white people are getting this, but like, how do you make colorism, misogyny, racism in Hollywood funny? Because you did.
Well, I think that humor is really one of the ways in which we process trauma. You think about the great humorists going back through time, like Richard Pryor and Moms Mabley, in order to negotiate this space that we're living in, they had to laugh about it. Otherwise, it would be too difficult. And so I think that that's why I decided to use the tool of humor to explore the lives of Vera Stark and all of these women who are trapped in circumstance and make these very compromised choices in order to be stars, right?
Yeah. Towards the end, we get to see the range of this woman's life. And I just want to say, it made me think of some of the last interviews Nina Simone did.
Yes.
And I was wondering, I was like, was that on your mind? So I wanted to ask, of course, there are a lot of actresses, like, who was inspiring you for this character? Was it someone in particular or a range of people?
Well, Lynn was very specific on, Teresa Harris and Nina Mae McKinney kind of being my eyesight for Vera, and I just watched every single thing they did, and the joy and the hope that they perform with. There's such a light to them that I wanted to bring to Vera. And then as far as Act Two, we watched a lot of Merv Griffin. We watched a lot of, those 70s talk shows. And I actually pulled from numerous actresses, whether it be black or white, that, have come to the, end or possibly end of their career, and what that means to look back on the sacrifice. there's a lot of Della Reese in my act too, you know.
My heart.
Yes, there's a lot of, you know, Lena Horne. There's, you know, that grandiose spirit that kind of has to put that on because of what people have put on her.
Absolutely. My goodness. Another moment that stood out to me just in the audience, Lottie, Vera's roommate, says, and I love that scene so much, just watching Black women just talk, just not stop. And she says, you know, she, of course, was an actress at one point too, and is not quite making it. She says, listen, I didn't give up on acting. Acting gave up on me. And someone in the audience went, oh, like it was visceral. And so I wanted to ask you again, as an actor, did that feel familiar? Is that the kind of conversation you've had?
Well, there's a lot of parallels in this. I mean, it's a joy to be in the middle of my career, in the middle of my hustle, you know, Vera's hustle in the middle of pilot season, you know, but it's, you know, and the amount of sacrifice of self. You know, the amount of things that you push to the side because you're like, I gotta be in this place. I've got to be in this da-da-da-da. And after a while you go, well, when do I get something back? You know, or when is it going to come to me? And, you know, one of my best friends said to me the other day, I'm ready to be compensated for the amount of work that I put in. And then when you're not, what happens? And I think that, you know, Lottie says, she's, I'm not waiting for this business to hand me anything. You know, I've been out here, I did this, I did that, I've been on Broadway, I've da-da-da. But because I look like I do, I'm not hunting after this anymore. You know,
I played Juliet.
I played Juliet. You know.
Well, Lynn, of course, you know, 2 Pulitzer Prizes. You have made history, and you continue to make history in your work. And I was struck both by your success, but also thinking about, you know, your play is now opening this revival, and Terrell Alvin McCraney has Choir Boy on Broadway, and soon Jeremy O'Harris is going to make his Broadway debut. It's exciting. Black playwrights having their work honored. From your perspective, though, what else would you like to see?
Well, if you look at this purely at the statistics, it seems like there's a wonderful moment happening, and it is. You know, I feel like this is a great renaissance right now in Black writing, in particular in playwriting. But the statistics don't support the reality.
Okay.
You know, by and large, Black women are underrepresented as playwrights throughout the country. And women are underrepresented. Black men are underrepresented. So we see Terrell McCraney, we see Jeremy Harris, and we have this assumption that everything's all right. But it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, this is a moment. And we have to figure out, how do we make this more than just a moment?
Yes. Exactly. And I feel like that's what every character the show is doing. This is a moment. How do I make it?
How do we make more of it?
Wow. Well, I just, as an audience member, as an artist, just thank you both. It was inspiring. It was deeply funny and needed. Thank you all for
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'm going to go back. I'm serious. And friends, you can see, by the way, meet Vera Stark in New York City at the Signature Theater. Go with a friend, because you're going to walk out and you want someone to talk to about it. All right, stay tuned for more AM to DM.